Hi, this is Rostin with the LK10 community. I'm here with John. How you doing, John?
Hi, Rostin. Good to see you, friend.
Good to see you. So we've been talking for the past few weeks about the recent LK10 conference, and we're getting ready to wrap up that conversation. But I wanted to hear John's perspective on this conference because everyone I've talked to about this conference has talked about how important it has felt to have been at this conference and how important it feels like this conference is going to be going forward for LK10. So, John, just tell me your perspective on what happened at this conference.
You bet, Rostin. So I want to do this by drawing a contrast to another conference. Early in the 2000s, I was part of the leadership team with House to House Ministries. This was a ministry that was started by Tony and Felicity Dale, Jim and Kathy Mellon, and another couple. It was very instrumental in helping people understand what back then was like a totally new idea, this whole house church idea. In fact, they described themselves as a sort of a shopping window of God for house churches. They did a number of things. They put out a really nice looking magazine called House to House. And they also did a conference every Labor Day weekend. Early on, those conferences were maybe 50 to 100 people. But then one year, we felt like we were supposed to invite John Eldridge to be the keynote speaker. And he graciously consented to do that and did a wonderful job. We actually met in Denver. And for that conference, we had over 500 people.
Wow.
It was really quite remarkable.
Were you expecting 500 people going from 50 to 100 people per year?
As people started signing up, we began to realize, holy cow, this is going to be something different.
You get a bigger venue.
Yeah, really. Well, we're at a big hotel downtown Denver. It was pretty cool. But the following year, the question was, well, what do we do now?
Okay.
And we began to think, well, what other speakers could we get that would be as, significant as John? And we had a difficult time with that. We would invite some people to come in, but the next several years, attendance declined, and we had a difficult time trying to come up with somebody that might fill the bill on that. After a while, another number of years, we kind of came to the conclusion that maybe the lifespan of House to House was at an end, and that actually came to an end. And in some ways, the LK10 ministry is a kind of a next step, sort of the next generation built on that. So all that to say, those conferences, we thought long and hard about getting a great speaker, well-known speaker for the conference. So I want to contrast that with this recent LK10 conference that we had over the Labor Day weekend.
Well, let me throw something in there real quick.
Yes, sir. You bet.
The second that you said every year after that, we were trying to figure out, a big name speaker to come in, like immediately hearing that just sounds so foreign to LK10.
Yeah. You've noticed that.
There's this gap between where I experienced LK10 and hearing that, that it doesn't make sense for where we are now. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, totally. So I think what we experienced over the Labor Day weekend is a kind of a whole different animal.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with having a conference and having, one or more well-known speakers come and speak. But I think what we experienced was something that was really important and unique. The people that you've talked to and that I've talked to after the conference are almost all saying something like this: I have never been at a conference like this. And these are people, these are mature Christians. These are people that have been walking with Jesus for years. They've been to dozens, if not hundreds, of conferences and retreat. And they're all saying, I've never experienced anything like this. And, what was it that they experienced? I think I would describe it as a unique experience of Jesus in community. So the relationships that happened were people who never had met each other became closest friends in the course of 3 days. One lady said, I felt like it was at a conference where everybody was an elder in the best sense of the word. And I loved it. I've been looking for godly men and women who could speak into my life, my whole life. I've been looking for something like this. One person said, I never thought I would experience anything like this this side of heaven.
Hmm.
So, as I've been thinking about this, reflecting on this, I think it's very possible that we could see this type of conference proliferate. I think it's very reproducible. And what I'd like to do probably in the next, excuse me, in the next video is to share what I think are some of the key elements that would make this something that anybody could do, whether they're in California or Thailand or Israel or Tennessee or wherever. I think we could see a lot of conferences like this. So maybe we'll save that for the next video, but I just wanted to introduce this idea of something that's really unique and really important, and I think has the capacity to multiply.
Yeah. So I had a couple thoughts from all of that. First off, it's almost the word conference almost doesn't work anymore for what you're describing. The word conference to me, I get a mental image of I'm sitting in a chair and we're all facing forward and there's one person up front. This is all sounding really familiar.
I've been there. I've been to that conference. And you're taking notes, right?
And you're taking notes. I say it all sounds familiar because it also sounds like normal, big church. Yeah, and this doesn't sound like that. This is much more dynamic, much more relational. We'll get into some of the reasons why it's those things as well in the next video. But I'm not convinced the word conference fits anymore.
Well, it may not. Maybe you can come up with a better word. I'd sure be open to that. But I think you're exactly right. It was experiential learning, and it was learning. It was relational learning. So it was in the context of really significant relationships with the Lord and with each other, and it was spontaneous. It wasn't like we planned this whole thing. Believe me, Ross, and I have planned out conferences in my past where every minute was, scheduled, and this wasn't that.
Yeah. This is really exciting to me, and I had one more thought, and it's not popping back into my head at the moment. But yeah, we'll come back and we'll revisit this and dive into the nuts and bolts of it in the next video. Yeah, John, it's been really exciting to hear about this for the past few weeks.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and we'll talk again soon.